and good morning. The title that I've selected for today is Compliant, but I Won't Be Silent. And the blurb: yes, I am now compliant with rules in Florida regarding driver's license, registration, and insurance, on my terms to some degree. I took my car out of the garage yesterday for the first time since my arrest. With my DL, driver's license, I preserved my rights as I shared a week or so ago. My car is now in a common law trust and registered as such. I do not own it. However, even though I have agreed to a compromise with the state to avoid further conflict on this subject, I will not be silent regarding the abuses of the state in even requiring such things through threats and coercion. Such contracts remain unlawful, which is not surprising, seeing how virtually everything the state does is unlawful. There were some issues that I brought up in that blurb that I hope to address today as I talk to you. And I want to just add in that I don't know what I did last night, but boy, my whole neck and down into my shoulder is very sore this morning. And I still, since the arrest on the 27th of May, I still do not have full range of painless motion with my right arm. There are things that I simply cannot do. I normally have slept on my right side. That's how I have often slept, but I'm unable to sleep comfortably or even lay comfortably for very long on the right side. So the injury that I sustained when that sheriff deputy put my arm in a very unnatural position and forced it into that position, the injury there still has not healed, which is surprising to me, since the body's natural state for me is to regain homeostasis, not to maintain an injury, but to maintain health. I think our natural state is health, not sickness, not illness, not disease. Anyway, that's a totally different subject, I know. I do that. I jump off course sometimes. But in regard to the driver's license, as I mentioned a week ago, I secured my rights. I made sure that I was not waiving my rights by getting the driver's license, and right on the very license itself, my rights are preserved, where it says all rights reserved. And actually they're preserved or preserved. I went through that step because I offered it as a compromise, that if the state would provide me or allow me to preserve my rights while obtaining a license, and if the state would allow me to register my vehicle, the ownership of my vehicle, into a trust, I would comply with the rules of the state, including insurance. And yesterday was the day of reckoning regarding my automobile. I obtained 6 months of car insurance in my name and the trust, because I'm told by several insurance companies that it's unlawful to insure a car in a trust only, or even to insure a driver where there is no connection to a vehicle. Although I'm told by my friend in Vermont that that's not true, that there has to be a way that people can register, or I should say, get insurance for the driver only when they don't own a vehicle. but they carry insurance in case they drive a vehicle. That may be true, but I was told by numerous, well, not numerous, but several different people that I talked to in the insurance industry that it's just not done, that it's unlawful. So my name had to be on the insurance. However, when I went to the state facility to retitle my vehicle in the name of the trust and to register it, I learned some things. Number one, that lots of people, the clerk that waited on me, said that I said, is this a very rare thing for people to put their car in a trust? And she says, oh, no, not at all. We get them all the time. So people putting their cars in a trust is common practice, and the clerks, it's not a surprise at all to the clerks. They did make 2 photocopies of the complete trust for their records, which, I didn't argue with. They did want to put the registration in my name, however, so that if someone would run my tags, my name would be the one that comes up and not the name of the trust, even though the ownership had been transferred into the trust. And it cost an extra $225 to register the car in the name of the trust. And the trust is actually located in Vermont, and it's governed by the laws of the state of Nevada, which are the most rights-preserving. It's the most rights-preserving state, I'm told, in the United States. I mean, their state laws protect people better than most other state laws do. And I, of course, did the compliance thing as a compromise, which I promised in documents that I submitted to the court that I was willing to do. And I was willing to do that, actually, in 2010 when I first attempted to renew my driver's license with stipulations attached, and at that time they rejected it. But this time it was accepted and went through as such. So I thought that was pretty good, and I was able to do what I set out to accomplish. Number one, to preserve my rights in holding a driver's license card, and number two, to take my automobile away from the state and make it property of something else. Because here's what you have to understand, folks, with the law as it exists. When you get a driver's license just normally and you just sign it, you're really signing away your rights. You're waiving your rights under the Constitution, or actually you're over the Constitution, but you're putting yourself outside of the jurisdiction of common law. You're putting yourself into the jurisdiction of the state, of admiralty. And unless you preserve it, and that's what I did, I preserved my rights. And the state considers that as I said yesterday, that we're all dead, we're all slaves, and we don't own anything. They do that with virtually all of our property, but especially property that we register with the state, like a automobile. So by registering it in a trust, we're in effect taking it away from the state. At least that's my intention and my understanding. And I've already done that with my house back in December, January, whenever it was, when I acknowledged the deed and took ownership of the property, and then taking steps further beyond that, actually obtaining and updating the land patent on this property. So I've already taken steps to own my property. And that's another thing, because I have one of my friends, Steve, is constantly saying we don't own anything. That is, from my perspective, that is totally incorrect. Everything that we need in our lives is ours. And if you don't believe me, Steve, or anybody else that thinks we don't own anything, Well, suppose someone came and said, well, I know you've been driving this automobile for however long you've been driving it, but I need it, and I'm going to take it away from you. I'm going to take this automobile, and it's now for my use. I don't own it either, but I'm going to take it, and because I need it. Or suppose they did that to the home that you're living in, or anything else that you have obtained for your use. It's absolute insanity, folks, to say you don't own that. Because by saying, I don't own it, anybody else can come and say, well, if you don't own it, I'll take it. I could use that. No, we have absolute right. It's a civil right. It's a common law right. It's a natural right. Whatever label you want to put on it, it's a right to own the things that we need. It's also a privilege to be able to share things freely with others that also have needs so that we live in harmony and cooperation with each other. But property rights are part of our civil rights and part of our natural rights in living in three-dimensional reality. In living in a physical reality, we have the right to own the things that are for our use, that we need for our use and our expression. Absolutely. Ownership is a right that is guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution. It was not even pursuit of happiness. It was the pursuit of property in the original wording as I understand it. It was life, liberty, and the pursuit of not happiness, but the pursuit of owning things. And in fact, only people that owned land were able to vote in the original Constitution. So, and that, by the way, in the insurance yesterday, it cost almost $400. It would have been over $400, but because I own my own home, I got a homeowner's discount, which reduced it some. So that was interesting because I thought it was going to be 50% or more of the annual price, and it was actually less than that because it was $800 and some dollars for a year, $830 something dollars for a year. And I thought it would be about half or a little more than half of that to go for the 6-month policy. But it actually was under $400 because of the homeowner's discount. But I have put everything of mine now into a trust so that I, Ronald Van Dyke, strawman, don't own anything. I put it in my own trust. I created as a living person, as a living being, my own trust, putting my property in a trust and I am as trustee, and my children are trustees in my trust. And there's actually 4 trusts that I created. One just for my automobile, just for the automobile and the contents thereof. One for my home and my natural rights and all the things that were named and listed in the my UCC 1. And another for my liquid assets like my bank accounts and stuff like that. And then the last one puts all of the property rights of those 3 trusts into another trust that makes my children and my grandchildren the beneficiary, so that if anything were to happen to me, they have a trust that they can move my assets into their personal accounts. Now I still have to go and set up a bank account in the trust's name, or to set up my bank account a little bit differently than the way that I have it, to get the recognition by my bank of the trusts. So anyway, these are steps that I still have to take, and there are still some things that I'm not completely finished doing. But as far as the trust for my automobile, that is absolutely done. In fact, they're all signed. The only one that's not completed yet is the last one with my children, and I'm still working on that one, on a few missing details. But I want to encourage you folks to find solutions to take back that which is yours as a human being, especially your rights, and especially protect your property, protect your assets. And they are yours to use as you wish. If you wish to share them and give them away or whatever you wish, that's fine. But in physical reality, you own those things, or you put them in a trust and they're protected by the trust. Now, yesterday we talked about this trust that was created by the government, but that was not really they lied. Everything they do is a lie. And I'm not going to be silent about those things. I'm compliant as far as following some of the rules and dotting the I's and crossing the T's to some degree the way that's required by the state, so long as I could safeguard certain things, which I did. However, I will not be silent. I will continue to speak out, because it's time for us to take back our rights and to take back the world from these people who have criminally stolen it from everybody else. And I'm going to leave it at that today. I want you to think about these things, and next week at my place I'm going to be talking about trusts and setting up common law trusts, and I'm going to be doing sort of like a mini seminar for a couple of hours next Wednesday night at my place. So people that are here in the Brevard County, Florida area are invited to come and share with me. It'll be a discussion and a learning experience for everybody that attends. Anyway, that's all I'm going to share. Thank you once again for listening, and namaste.